Hi, my name is Matthew, and this is my response to the calling for donation money that's been laid out by Invisible Children uh, via their Kony 2012 video. To get started here, I'm looking at page 6 of their 2011 fiscal year expense report. As you can see here at the bottom, you're looking at their total expenses for the year 2011 was $8,894,000. If you go back up here and kind of break down how that was spent, it gets kind of interesting. Now, for direct services, they spent $2,810,000. So of the $8,894,000 that they spent, only $2,810,000 actually made it back into their program. Compensation costs here at the top, that is your employee salaries. So they paid out $1,724,993 for those. For entertainment, which I'm not quite sure what that entails, I'd be interested to find out. $16,000 for entertainment. For fees and licenses, you've got $229,000. For film costs, you've got $357,000. Insurance, $157,000. For office, which I would probably try and wrap up the office and rent into one category. I'm not sure how they split that up, but for your office cost, you've got $107,000, and it looks like they spent close to $400,000 in rent. For postage, I thought this was kind of high. They spent $187,000 on postage. Production cost, it was actually $851,000, so they spent a lot of money there. Professional services, and that's where you're gonna. It's basically a nice way, a way to clean up, saying that they paid some of the DC lobbyists some money to try and encourage military involvement in what they supposedly believe in. Program communication, $138,000. Program supplies, $121,000. Travel and transportation, $1,074,000 was spent just in travel and transportation for these guys to go and basically be filmmakers. Because at the end of the day, I think I'll be able to show you or give you an idea of that's basically what they are. So of the $8,894,000 of their total 2011 expenses, you're looking at only $2,810,000 of that actually going directly towards their program. So if you figure that up, that's about 31 to 32% of money going into their program, which by comparison, you look at Red Cross, they've got 91%. UNICEF, I think they run about 90%. So that's just by comparison, because I don't want to add all these other things in there. I don't want to add travel and transportation. I don't want to add film cost, insurance on their cameras, etc., fees and licensing. I'm not going to add those things into what their actual expenses for the year. I mean, they were expenses, but they didn't put it towards their program by any means. They are filmmakers. Let's look at the Charity Navigator rating that they have. This is actually something kind of in their favor. A lot of people are saying that they only had a 2 out of 4 star rating, when in fact they have a 3 out of 4 star rating. They're on the very low end of the 3 spectrum. You can see they just barely kind of slid in there. If you'd like to read through here, they have some areas of concern that Charity Navigator brought up to them. One of the concerning things here is that these are charities performing similar types of work. The closest that they come to is the Hands Together organization out of Massachusetts. They're an entire 10 points behind in score, just by a comparable organization, and they're actually almost 14 points behind one of the other people in their category. As you can see, all comparable organizations have 4 stars. They only have a 3, and they're on the very, very low end of the 3 spectrum. One of the popular items that's out there right now is this picture of the 3 founders of Invisible Children posing with the Ugandan Army with their guns. And you can take a look at this. They're total badasses. This guy's got a bandana. This guy, he's helping him hold an RPG because he's probably not strong enough. This guy's holding a gun. Um, you know, and one of the things that a lot of people have brought up to me on my Facebook wall, they say, well, it's just a picture, it's no, there's no substance to it. It's just a picture, and that argument is completely false. We'll get into that a little bit later on. But this article that I found on the Washington Post, actually, they just released this, and it's an interview with the guy that took this photo, which you can read through here. It's some really interesting stuff. But it asks him what he thought of the Kony 2012 video here. And he replies, I can't bring myself to watch the video. I found all of their previous efforts to be emotionally manipulative, and all the things I try as a journalist not to be. After the peace talks in 2008, they put out another video, and I saw the footage used in these videos, blending archival footage with the LRA and SPLA, and videos of them goofing off. It was the most irresponsible act of image making that I'd seen in a long time. So going back to this picture, the argument that there's no substance to this picture is completely false. Okay, in a statement released 2 days ago by Invisible Children, we'll start here. Invisible Children's mission is to stop Joseph Kony and the LRA wherever they are and help rehabilitate LRA-affected communities. The Ugandan government's army is more organized and better equipped than that of any other affected country to track down Joseph Kony. To me, that sounds like it's a total endorsement of the Ugandan Army, which wouldn't be such a big deal if the Ugandan Army hadn't been tried for the last several years for looting and raping the women of several villages within their own country, mind you. This is an article that highlights a lot of the stuff. Some of the stuff gets kind of vulgar. Just to kind of hit a couple of notes here without getting too in depth in it. A representative of the UN organization said there were reports of several girls, some as young as 12, involved in prostitution with Ugandan soldiers. There's another story down here about another case where there was a girl abducted at 14, and this Ugandan soldier basically had sex with her, impregnated her, and pretty much left her to be on her own. So it's interesting that your organization, Invisible Children, here that you're so apt to donate money for, their mission is to stop the hurt on these children, and they are totally and completely endorsing an army that is being tried over and over and over again for actually looting villages and raping the women and children of those villages. So something to keep in mind there. One of the things that also concerns me is that is the heavy involvement that Invisible Children has in Uganda. And this is not to mention, their endorsement of the Ugandan Army. Joseph Kony, by the Invisible Children's own admission, has not been in Uganda since 2006. In fact, I believe he was, I don't know if I have any information on it here or not, I believe that they ran him out in 2006, and he hasn't been back since, yet your Invisible Children team here, they're endorsing the army, they're stationed out of there. And if you watch the video, it's a little bit misleading in my opinion. So there's plenty of information here, even by Invisible Children's own admission, that he's not in Uganda. And I don't understand their vested interest in staying there at this time. This is the Wikipedia page for the Lord's Resistance Army. It's interesting that this is just now being brought to light, and so many of you haven't heard about this before, because personally I heard about it, several years ago. But just to kind of backtrack here to let you guys know, January 1997, the LRA attacked a city in northern Uganda 400 people killed, 100,000 people displaced. 2002, they attacked Sudan, 450 people killed. I mean, there's some graphic stories in here. But if you scroll down here and look, efforts by the Ugandan Army in early 2009, which was known as Operation Lightning Thunder, sweet name, to inflict a final military defeat on the LRA were not successful. So you've got the Ugandan Army, which Invisible Children fully supports, trying to go in and wipe out the LRA. Rather, the U.S.-supported operation resulted in brutal attacks by the LRA, with over 1,000 people killed in Congo and Sudan. So the military involvement that Invisible Children is pushing so hard for, in 2009 actually resulted in 1,000 people being killed in Congo and Sudan. I don't have the link for it, but I did read earlier that was 500 children that they killed. So 500 of the 1,000 people that they killed were a direct result of the U.S. Involvement with the Ugandan Army trying to take them down. It did not obviously result in the capture or killing of Joseph Kony, who remains elusive. I don't understand why the continued support of military intervention is so high on Invisible Children's priority list here, because obviously it's just resulting in more death. This was brought to me on my Facebook page. There's a guy that used to live here, or attend school here in Joplin, and my friend posted this to my wall, and it's talking about what some of the unintended consequences of this Kony 2012 movement may look like. If you guys get a chance, it's just traviscurtice.com. I think he gives a very unbiased opinion of what's going on right now and the consequences that it might have. So even if Invisible Children's movement really is for the positive, which I don't agree, even if it is for the positive, there are going to be consequences to bringing this man to light as they have. It kind of goes in and talks about the actual people of Uganda, how we may be overshadowing their voices. It's a really interesting and well written article. So just to kind of go back to this, I'm making this video so that people may do a little bit more research into Invisible Children and where your money is actually going before you just shell out all this money to the organization, because looking back at their fiscal year 2011 statement, there's not much money actually going into their charity. I mean, in fact, a pretty overwhelming amount of money is not making it to their charity. Now, the compensation costs, I kind of understand. It seems a little high, but I guess they can pay themselves whatever they want, so that's fine. But you look at the rest of the numbers, and they really just don't. I mean, over $1 million for travel and transportation. You're giving your money to filmmakers is what you're doing. You're giving your money to filmmakers who are trying to sell their own product. To me, it seems they're trying to sell their own product. They're basically traveling the world off of your donations, and it's. I wanted everyone to kind of be aware and have some substance to what's going on here, as opposed to just giving your money to these badasses that just they really aren't doing much with it other than filming and traveling the world. So please keep these things in mind as you read through this, as you watch the Kony video, and that's about all I've got. It's just something that I've been really passionate about the last couple of days, and I don't want to see people piss their money away without knowing the facts first. So that's all I've got.